On this episode, we're going to talk about networking and how to do it the right way for once. And you'll hear and you'll realize that you're probably doing it wrong. We'll talk about the wrong way, the right way, and what it could potentially lead to if you are patient and network the right way, what it can do for you as a real estate agent.
The Massive Agent Podcast, with lead generation tips and strategies to get you more leads and sell more homes.
I love to buy houses. I like to sell houses.
It takes brass balls to sell real estate.
Wait a minute.
The leads are weak. You're weak.
I've had better.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Here's your host, Dustin Brohm.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 129 of the Massive Agent Podcast. I appreciate you being here today. If you are new to the show, welcome. My name is Dustin Brohm, your host. I am a realtor in Salt Lake City, Utah with eXp Realty. I am the co-founder of the Industry Syndicate Real Estate's podcast network. This show is a proud member of the Industry Syndicate podcast network. I'm a national speaker on all things real estate marketing, podcasting, and social media. I'm a columnist for Housing Wire and founder of the Massive Agent Society, our one agent per market lead generation, Facebook ads, training, coaching, online course program. That's a freaking mouthful, isn't it? But you know what? It does a lot. There's a lot to it. It's quite awesome. So there you go. You can check that out to see if your market is available at massiveagentsociety.com if you want to learn how to master and control your ability to get your own leads. Don't rely on Zillow. Don't rely on a team leader. Don't rely on your broker. Don't rely on anyone but yourself to get leads for your own business. Because, as you've heard me say before, and you'll hear me say many, 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 many more times, any business in any industry at any size, if you do not control your ability to get new leads in the door, you will not be around at some point. Maybe you can survive for another year. Maybe you can survive for 2 or 3 years. I don't know. But at some point, you will be pushed out of business. When you don't have control over your ability to get new customers, you don't have a long-term business. So control that shit. Learn to control it. Learn to be a master. It's not that difficult. It just takes some focus. It takes step-by-step instructions, and it takes work. That's all. So do it, because lead generation, Facebook ads in particular, has changed my life, changed my business, and changed the businesses of many, many of our members and other agents that I know and talk to, and even agents I don't know, because lead generation, kind of important when you are a real estate professional. All right, guys. So this week, I'm going to talk about networking, and I'm going to tell you a story of how I've done networking. And I'm not talking about going to a party, a networking event with a freaking name tag on, and you go and you say, "Hello, what do you do?" Like you actually give a shit. Oh, really? You're a railroad salesman. Okay, cool. Well, now that you've told me that, now it's my chance to tell you I'm a real estate agent and I sell homes here and I'm a blah, blah, blah. So here's my card. That's not what I mean by networking. Now, that's what a lot of you do. You may not realize it. I was one of those agents who didn't realize that I was doing that. And we do it through social media. You don't have to be in a room with somebody to network with them. You don't have to be in a room with them to network the right way or the wrong way. Before I start diving into networking, for those of you guys that gave me feedback and reached out after last week's show where I got vulnerable a little bit, I talked a bit about the current state of our country and about just all the different hardships that we're facing, all the different things that are frustrating us, that are hurting us, that are just weighing on us as a society. So I really appreciate your feedback. I didn't want to do last week's show. I really didn't. I felt compelled to. And if you heard the show, episode 128, I think you can tell I was, I don't know. The reason why I chose to do a podcast episode and not just a Facebook post or something is I wanted to be able to give context. I wanted to just let it loose. I wanted to speak freely and openly without limits, without a character count of a post limiting my thoughts. And I wanted at some point, my kids, my grandkids, to be able to hear it and know where I stood on the issues of today. So thank you all. It's been humbling. It's been humbling, the feedback I've received from you guys. So thank you very much. And, as long as we're all making a genuine, concerted effort to improve society and to be better people, we're going to be just fine. So if you have not yet heard it, please go listen to episode 128. I'm proud of it, even though I didn't want to do it. I don't know. I just didn't want to do it, but I'm very glad, especially after some of the amazing messages I received from some of you guys. I'm very glad that I did. And it showed me that regardless what anyone else thinks, I feel better because I spoke out and stood when it's required. So hopefully you guys will do the same in your own way, whatever that is, whatever that looks like, however you do it. All that matters is that you stand for what you believe in. Don't be silent anymore. All right. Last thing, but before we get into it, guys, thank you so much for listening. And we've seen a fairly large increase in audience over the last couple months. Now, part of that is COVID, that son of a bitch COVID, that rat bastard COVID. When COVID hit, I'm always looking at the numbers, like how many people are listening to the show and is it growing? Is it not growing? Well, going into January, like December, January, we were at we had the biggest audience we've ever had in the show, and it was growing quite rapidly. Like we were adding a few thousand more downloads every month. And then that son of a bitch COVID hit. And apparently you guys listen to podcasts when you're driving, when you're commuting. Apparently podcast consumption is tied directly to your routine. I know how that is because I listen to podcasts while walking the dog at night. So I get it. But a lot of you who all of a sudden you weren't commuting, you weren't out there showing homes and driving around town, you weren't going to and from the office that time that you would have listened to podcasts, you didn't. So it's not just my show. There's a bunch of podcasts that February, March, April numbers went way down. Audiences went way down. Well, they're starting to rebound. But I know a lot of that is due to you guys being willing to share episodes that you find valuable, that you think other agents should listen to, and you've been sharing them on social media, and you haven't been keeping it a secret. So for everyone who's done that, thank you so much. I do this show for free. I do this show, obviously I have business interests because I'm not an idiot, and I am an entrepreneur and a capitalist, but I really genuinely want to help you to be more successful. It just happens to be that I can make a great living while doing that because that's the way it should work, right? I'm not ashamed of that at all. That's literally how the system is designed, and it's beautiful, and it works because of that. But I want you guys to succeed. So I want more agents who aren't succeeding to succeed. If you have any episode, this one, the previous one, any that you're like, man, that was good, or I really learned something cool, please consider sharing it. Share it on Facebook. Share it on LinkedIn. Share it in a Facebook group. Take a screenshot of you listening and put it on your Instagram story and tag us. Whatever it is, if you just help spread the word, I am completely satisfied and happy with that and grateful to you for doing it. So thank you so much. All right, enough yapping. Networking. I used to think networking was literally like you'd join BNI or some other group where everyone would get together in a room and everyone was there to network, and everyone had business cards in hand, and you'd go around and you'd pretend to be interested in the other person, and you'd wait for them to tell you what they do, and then you're like, okay, cool, now's my chance to tell you what I do, and you just vomit all over them, and you basically shove your business card down their throat, and you feel like, wow, that was a successful networking meeting, wasn't it? Because I gave out 50 cards or whatever. But you didn't make any connections. Now, did you? Interesting. Weird. Didn't really get any business from that. Now, did you? That I didn't realize that social media is networking. Guys, I get asked all the time, how many hours a day do you spend prospecting? And how many? And I'm like, Well, it depends on your definition. I'm prospecting all damn day on social media. I don't spend any time calling a list, reading scripts, or any of that stuff. That's not how I do it. Social media is a tool. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram stories, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever the hell you're using, TikTok, it doesn't matter. For me, it started with Snapchat, really. And I'll tell that story here in a second, in a way that you guys that have been listening for a while maybe haven't heard, or in a context you haven't heard of what my use of Snapchat and how I did it, when I did it, what it led to. If you've been listening for a while, it's not going to be repetitive. So social media is a tool to help you prospect. When you are talking with people on social media, when you're commenting and you're engaging and you're having conversations and meeting new people and just, being cool on social media, guess what? You're actually prospecting. Weird. You don't have to be reading a script and calling a phone number that you bought from RedX because Jackass over here told you that that's the only way to sell homes. No, it's not the only way to sell homes. You can actually be active on social media, and by doing it the right way, you can not only build a big network, but build relationships, build friendships. Guys, social media and the relationships I've built from social media have changed my life forever. And they've changed my life in a business way, a personal way and a business way, a way that will change my family tree, my family legacy forever. It's crazy. Doors that have been opened because of people I've met through social media that have become actual friends in real life. And what is real life, right? Like, what, people are like, well, this is just, social media. It's just a social media friend. Well, are they a real friend or not? You know who your real friends are. A lot of my closest friends I haven't met in person. Does that mean they're not a friend? No, it doesn't mean that at all. If you ask somebody, 15 years ago, if that was the case, or even 5 years ago, they might say, yep. Eventually you got to meet him. You got to meet him in person or it's not a real relationship. Well, bullshit. I call bullshit. So social media is prospecting. Social media can be used to network, and it's all the same thing. So there's a few different avenues I want to go down. So first of all, there's a lot of things happening in my life and my career right now that are happening that are very positive, that like things are going well. Like some big things are happening. Doors are being opened, some of which are crazy. My EXP team, I'm growing that very fast and finding amazing partners to work with. Other agents who are coming to partner with us, and then they're starting to build their own team, and it's growing. It's fun. And people are asking me now, like, hey, how are you able to do that? How are you able to grow so fast? Well, the honest answer is because of relationships that I've been nurturing, that I've built over years on social media. Here's how it happened. So January 2016, I wrote an article for Inman News called "Why I'm Jumping on Snapchat for 2016," something along those lines, or why I'm jumping on Snapchat for real estate in 2016. And it wasn't that, hey, I just used Snapchat and all these amazing things happened. It was, hey, I'm thinking about doing these things. Like, here's why I'm going to use Snapchat. And it was because I heard Gary Vaynerchuk, who I'd only heard of maybe 6 months prior, and didn't know him that well, but I was listening to some of his content, and a suggestion he made back when Snapchat was really taking off, especially within our industry, was, if you're using Snapchat at any level, write an article for an industry publication in whatever industry you're in, whether, the dental field, real estate, if you're a restaurant owner, whatever, doesn't matter, the legal world, write an article for the industry publications of why you're using Snapchat to build your business. So I'm like, all right, I can do that. And I did. And I had a little bit of experience writing because I've been writing articles for Search Salt Lake for a little bit. That's the company that I started, my media company that happens to sell real estate. And so I learned to write the way that I speak. I'm not some stuffy New York Times douchebag, writing for The Atlantic or The Economist or some shit. That you guys know that that's not me. So I've learned to write in a relatable way. I don't think I'm great, but I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm a decent writer. At the time, I had no idea. I was like, whatever. I'm going to try it. I'm going to write this article. I sent it to Inman. I sent it to RIS Media. I sent it to a few other real estate blogs. I didn't even know all the big real estate media companies and publications at the time. Luckily, Inman picked it up. They're like, sure, we'll publish it. And I'm like, oh, why, thank you. And I didn't know any better. I sent him my Snap code. You guys remember Snapchat? It's weird that I'm talking about, do you remember Snapchat? It wasn't even that long ago, but I haven't used it in well over a year. I deleted the app because I just use Instagram stories now. At Massive Agent on Instagram. You slackers who don't yet follow me, please do. But the Snapchat had these Snap codes, and they were one of the first to do it. And everyone was posting their Snap codes all over the internet. And I sent mine to Inman to put in the article as an image, and they did. So, and I don't think that they would do that today, but they did because they're like, hey, this is how you use Snapchat. There's these codes, which was unique at the time, and they published it. I woke up that morning that they published it with 1,000 to 1,500 new Snapchat followers. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Then the next morning, same thing, and I realized these are all agents. These are, or 99.9% of them are agents, and it's from my Inman article. And so now there's all these agents that are like, I'm curious what this Dustin dude in Salt Lake is doing to as a real estate agent. How is he using Snapchat as an agent? I wrote the article, so now I was someone who I was in a position of not authority, but I was the expert. I was the person with the credibility on the subject because I wrote the article. Guys, when you do content, it's amazing. You become the expert. You become the credible expert just because you're the one that did that video, that wrote that article, that did that piece, that did that podcast. You're the one who can create your own credibility and expertise. It's mind-boggling. And what's mind-boggling is how few of you actually do it and take advantage. So I did that. I have all these agents following me. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to start just sharing with them how like the day-to-day of me being an agent in Salt Lake City. And so a lot of it was marketing based because that's what I was focused on at the time was growing my business. And because Snapchat was part of that, I was learning to promote through social media, promote the content that I had created, and I was learning all about social. So I start sharing about, hey, I'm learning this about Facebook ads, or hey, I just learned about this fancy new thing called Canva, where you can create your own graphics, and here's what I'm doing. And hey, I just ran an ad for on Snapchat for geo filters, and I was able to get this many impressions for $10 or whatever. And I just shared all that stuff. And when I went to listing presentations or doing stuff with the family, I just shared it. I didn't know what else to do. What I found out was there was a core group of a few hundred of those thousands that followed that became close friends because they started engaging with my stories, and we started, if I was out here, they'd comment something and I'd comment back, and then we get to know each other a little bit, and that would happen over months. And so I started cultivating relationships through social media. And then we took it to Facebook because we're like, hey, there's this group of agents who are using Snapchat, but Snapchat didn't have groups. I think they do now, but they didn't really have groups, that at least not the way Facebook groups work. So we went to Facebook and started the Snap Pack Real Estate Marketing Group. At first, it was just agents using Snapchat as a place to get together on Facebook to strategize and talk business and network with each other. And so that furthered our relationship, and I built very close relationships. Some of my best friends on the planet I met through Snapchat and through just networking on social. But I wasn't networking. See, here's the thing. I wasn't telling everybody every day, hey, if you have a referral for me, please send it. If you have a referral, if any of your clients are moving to Salt Lake City, I'm your guy, please send me a referral. I don't think ever once that I explicitly said that, but everyone got to know me as the agent in Salt Lake City. who they followed on Snapchat. So guess what happened? Because I was just being cool and talking with people and, getting to know them. They were getting to know me. I started to get a crap load of referrals. I got a lot of them. I don't get as many today as I did a couple years ago. But at one point, I was getting, 30% of my business from referrals, where I was getting 1 or 2 a month, and it was incredible. So all because they knew me as the agent in Salt Lake City, and they didn't know anyone else. All because I was sharing my day, sharing what I was doing in a way that they, as agents, were interested in, and so it worked out that way. So I have friendships being built. I have relationships being built. I'm building my credibility as an expert in real estate marketing. We now go to a Facebook group, and that continues there. And then more people start to find the Facebook group. And so I start sharing more in the Facebook group. And all I was doing was sharing what I was doing to grow my business. And I was being cool. And I was just laid back, wanting more agents to come in so that I could meet them, learn from them. See, that's the thing, guys. If you just want, if it's just a one-way street to you, and you just want to talk to people and tell them about you and say, hey, I'm an agent, but you don't give a shit, you don't give a rat's ass about them or what they do, that's a problem. That's a problem. If you are thinking, well, the networking doesn't work, I've never been able to actually get a referral from it or a deal, that's your problem now, isn't it? You're looking at it as a way to get deals rather than building relationships. When you build relationships, and you build a lot of them with people who are in your market and outside, guess what happens? At some point, you start getting referrals. You start getting referrals because you didn't set out to get referrals. Weird. So if you go networking in any, I guess I'm kind of jumping to the end here so I'll throw a spoiler alert, but I'll give more context here in a minute. If you are just going into social media or any networking event or anything where you're out in public and you want to get business from it, you're like, I'm going to go talk to these people so I can get business. There's nothing wrong with having that as a secondary intention, or at least a desire that at some point, sure, wouldn't that be awesome if you could meet somebody at the park when, you take your kids to the park, they take their kids, and you meet somebody there and you start a conversation and eventually it leads to business. Awesome. But if you go there wanting to make that happen, you go there and start talking to somebody to get them to know you're an agent and to somehow get business from them, it will never happen. This is 2020. Everybody is cynical. Everyone knows what you're doing. It's so transparent. It's so see-through. Stop doing that crap. It doesn't work. But what does is just being cool, building relationships, talking to people, letting them talk about themselves, genuinely caring about them. Weird. Like if you have somebody in, I'll use one of you guys, for example. So Bob Wall, an agent friend of mine in St. Louis, Missouri. He's now on my EXP team. But back then he was Bob in St. Louis, and I thought he was funny, and I thought he was a good guy. He had kids, and so I liked watching his Snapchat stories. And he would comment on mine, I'd comment on his, and over time we became friends, right? And that friendship, again, over time leads to eventually I'm in a position where I can say, hey, Bob, why don't you come join me over here at EXP? Or, hey, Bob, I have a referral for you. I have a client moving to St. Louis and you're my guy, or vice versa. That can't happen if it was just, hey, Bob, I don't care about anything you're posting. I'm not going to comment on any of it. But if you ever need a great agent in Salt Lake, I'm your guy. He would have written me off right from the start. You see where I'm going with this? Like, hopefully you already get the point. I should be able to end this right here and have you get it. But I will continue because sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So I will continue saying the things in different ways until you get it. And, so we'll keep going. And dear God, this is only like 20 something minutes into it, 24 minutes. It's a short podcast. Shit. I've got to give you another 30 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. I'll give you another 5 or so. But please stop. If you want a certain result, you have to make sure that you play the long game, usually. Okay. In this conversation that we're having right now, in this context of networking, building relationships, this is the same thing with your leads. Okay. If you're running Facebook ads to get leads to sell homes, yes, you want them to turn into sales. Okay. The lead doesn't matter. What matters is how many of them you get to actually close on a property or list a home and close it, right? That was a weird way of me saying eventually you want them to buy or sell. So, but they're not all going to. The vast majority won't. Okay, you could get 1,000 leads this month. How many of them are going to be ready to go right this minute? 15, 10, I don't know. Maybe more, maybe 50. But the vast majority you have to work with over time. You have to show them that, because remember, they just clicked on your ad. Now, ideally, you learned the retargeting strategy and you weren't a complete stranger to them. They've seen you before, they've seen your videos, they've seen your branding, they've seen your content, and then they clicked on an ad and opted in because you were familiar. But if you were just running the ad to the cold audience, those who don't know you at all, they've never seen you before. So if they've never seen you before, it's very unlikely that every person who becomes a lead is automatically going to trust you and like you. They clicked on your ad. They don't know a damn thing about you. So now you have to follow up with them over time, over a long period of time, with text messages, emails that include videos, texts that include videos, all this so that they can see you, and retarget them with videos so they can get to know you and see your personality and start to trust you and start to like you, so that 6 months later, after they first became a lead from your Facebook ad, now they're comfortable with you. They feel like they know you. They feel like they like you, and they feel like they trust you enough to reach out to hire you to list their property. It takes time, people. So really, I guess this could have been a 20-second podcast. Networking that works is when you go in planning on it taking a long time before you ever see any kind of payoff besides just a friendly relationship. There. Wow, that's pretty good, actually. Just be cool. Just understand that that's how things work. How often, whenever somebody comes up to you and they want something from you, do you instantly give it to them when you don't know them? How many times does a stranger come up to you and ask you for something and then you just give it to them? I venture to say never, right? Never. But if it's somebody that you've known for 6 months and they ask you for a ride to the airport, or they ask you for $20 or whatever the hell, you're going to probably give it to them because you know them. Right? You have a relationship. Guys, you all know how this works. But hopefully today's conversation and the perspective I gave you can help you see what can happen. Look, guys, when I started building relationships with you, with other agents on Snapchat and then on Facebook and social media in general, and then a lot of you that are now, we talk to each other through Instagram and you listen to the show. Like, I'm not thinking I want this person to listen to the podcast so that I can get him to join EXP tomorrow. Like, no, of course, I'd love for everyone to join my EXP team, but that's like maybe eventually, if you're even the right fit. I do things knowing that the payoff may never, ever happen. Okay, that the getting a referral, closing a deal, getting someone to join your team or your brokerage, if your brokerage has that, right? You've got to just take it slow. Date before you propose. Date before you propose. Otherwise, you're just a crazy person. When I started networking with other agents, I had no idea that those relationships would lead to what I'm doing today, the Massive Agent Society coaching program. That is something I'm super proud of. It's changed a lot of our members' lives and businesses. It's been great for my family, for myself, financially. It's just been great. I had no idea that I could even do something like that when I first started networking. But when I started networking and building relationships, I realized over time, wow, like this is a logical next step. There's these people that are asking for this support. How do I give it to them? Like, I can't give it to everybody one-on-one. There's only so many hours in the day. I have my own life to live. I have my own family. I have my own business to run. I can't do that. So how can I deliver information and guidance and training to as many people as possible? So I'm like, I'll do the coaching program. I'll do the Massive Agent Society program. That's how. But if I had not built any relationships and nobody saw me as credible, guess what would have happened? Well, pretty much nothing. Like, my coaching program would have just flopped and done. Nobody joins, doesn't help anybody, doesn't help me, waste of time. Being patient and just building great relationships on social media with agents and non-agents alike is one of the best things you could ever do with long-term ROI. And today, you may not know what that return on investment even looks like. You may not even know what the end game is. I didn't know 3 years ago that I was going to be with a brokerage that incentivized agent attraction, that actually would pay me like a broker to help other agents to sell more homes. See, my brokerage, it financially incentivizes agents to help other agents to sell more homes. That is powerful. But I didn't know that existed. So thank God I just built relationships and helped when I could. And, some relationships naturally fall through the cracks. You fall apart. That's okay. But then you meet new people and you cultivate and, you attract the right people. And if you do it, then an opportunity will come your way where you think, wow, this is actually great for me and for them. You guys, I believe at this point, with all my yammering, know what I'm talking about. So please, change your perspective. If you've been going in thinking, I'm going to talk to this person at the grocery store and I want to give them my business card so that they hire me, they're never going to do that. They're just never going to do that. So pump the brakes, take a breath, take it easy, be cool with just building friendships. Look, aside from all the amazing doors that have opened for me professionally with public speaking and coaching program, growing an EXP team, all of that stuff, I've made some great friendships. I have some great friends because of social media and because of the tool of social media, how I used it. I have great friendships that have enriched my life that I'm super grateful for. All the business stuff is that's all bonus. So change your perspective. Change your perspective and realize that you may not even know how to completely capitalize on or maximize your relationships until a year or so down the road, maybe more, maybe 10 years. I don't know. Depends on what it is, right? So just build relationships, be cool. And I promise you, when it comes time to monetize them, it sounds so douchey, but you know what I mean. When it's time to monetize or maximize the relationships that you have and that opportunity arises, you'll be in the best possible spot because you'll actually still have relationships. It's not a relationship if you shove a business card in somebody's face and you've talked to them for 30 seconds and you think that they're going to hire you and that's all you do. And you wonder why, wow, how come I'm not getting calls? I've been doing this for years now. Think about it. Guys, thank you so much for listening this week. I really appreciate it. If you would, please share the show with a friend, with a colleague, with your broker, with a team member in a real estate industry Facebook group, on your Instagram story, whatever. We just appreciate you helping us to reach new agents and grow the audience. So if there's anything I can do for you, please reach out at Massive Agent on Instagram and Facebook. And if you are not yet following or liking on Instagram or Facebook, please do at Massive Agent. And I appreciate you guys. Stay well, stay positive, keep fighting, keep growing, keep learning, and keep doing the things that you know you should be doing. And I promise you're going to look back at 2020 and think, wow, what an amazing year that turned out to be, because I decided to take a ton of action doing the right things and I stuck with it, and my business and my life has never been better. Not everyone's going to be able to say that, unfortunately, but you guys have that opportunity. Thank you guys. Take care.